Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sport. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
All right, welcome back to KCAA Radio, here on Fabulous Lifestyles Radio Show. Our guest today is Latasha Fennell, and before break, we were talking about your journey in starting Boss Lady Bling Blingy. And so it started out as therapy, just to help, mitigate some of the stress that you were feeling, being in the military, being a military spouse, and just being able to manage the feelings. However, after starting, and Latasha was making the jewelry for those that were in the military before it was accessible to civilians, tell me about how you were able to bridge that transition.
Well, the funny story is I was just making those items. I didn't even know if I was good. I just figured it was good enough for me and people liked it. So I just continued making them. I didn't even have a name. I didn't even have a name for my business because it wasn't as serious then. It was my sailors. So I give thanks to my sailors in my command. My sea duty command that I was in, I was like, I need a name for my business. And we were all just joking around in the office. And I had one particular sailor that would call me Boss Lady because I was his senior chief. And they was like, oh my God, here come Boss Lady. And then I was like, I'm going to name my business Boss Lady. Then I look on the internet, there was like 1,001 Boss Lady. Yes. I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible. So I wanted to be different. Then I was like, you got to have something else to it. And then he's like, well, you got all of this unauthorized bling everywhere. And I was like, that's it. It's going to be Boss Lady Bling Blingy. And then they started laughing, and I was laughing straight to the bank.
There you go. I mean, who wouldn't want to be laughing to the bank, right?
Yes. So that stood out. And my business actually started in a park in Imperial Beach. A lot of people don't know. Well, some that's down south San Diego. I started out in Imperial Beach Park. And I sold one thing. And I started to rethink this whole business thing.
Okay. So when the sales weren't popping.
Well, I thought I was doing such a good thing at the time because they were actually buying it in the military. Then I transitioned to, because I made so many items that I started making earrings for civilians and myself. I would market my things by wearing them myself. And I would see how many people would come up to me and say, oh my God, because women love to do that. Yeah. Where'd you get those earrings? Oh my God, where'd you get that bracelet? And that was my opportunity. It's like, I made this. I can make it for you. And so I started making so many pieces that my husband was like, okay, now, you just got so many pieces in the spare bedroom. You need to go to the farmer's market or something. So bright idea. I went to the farmer's market and I sold one item. And I was upset because it wasn't even enough to cover the fee for being out there. So I was like, sadly, I was like, oh, I think I need to rethink this. I was there all day and only sold $27. Wow. So that kind of like was a low blow for me. And I was like, maybe I'm not that good, And so I moped around the house. And as I found myself moping, I couldn't turn it off. I was still making more pieces.
Okay.
Because I believed in what I was doing. I'm like, I think it's just the wrong place. And indeed it was. It was just the wrong market. So I went
So what was that sweet spot?
So farmers market wasn't for me. People go to farmers market to buy food, not accessories. So I went to a craft market.
Oh.
Actually, right down the street from the last one, and everyone was hand making their items. And I tell you, I knocked it out of the park, literally the park.
Oh.
So we sat up in the park, and I saw so many things that I couldn't wait to get back out there. So that was one of the most memorable ones, because it was like my second market, and I was like, oh my God, my stuff does good. You know, people want it, you know. I mean, I felt good because I didn't, at first I was like, man, I made all of this stuff, and it's nothing worse than having so much material and you can't do anything with. So I was like only doing accessories and stuff like that, and then it started selling. Then I was like, oh man, I need to figure out pricing, because at this point, you know, I'm selling stuff, but I don't feel like I'm making a lot of money, because you have to know the price and the timing that you put in to it, because a lot of people want cheap. But if you're spending so much money on your products and giving them quality product, you can't sell it cheap.
Well, we're going to come back to that topic. So we want to come back to that conversation on pricing. But we still haven't answered the question, how do you find the time to do all of this?
So in the civilian world, when you have a job, you have one particular job. You know, hey, I come in, if it's answer the phone, that's what I'm going to do for 8 hours. I'm going to answer the phone. But in the military, you have several jobs. You answer the phone, you lead sailors, you talk to sailors, you do the job, you do the own training job, you go to the meetings. You know, you have so many things that you do. So it's like you're being pulled in so many different directions. So being on shore duty, that's kind of lessened, because it's like now, okay, I only have like a couple of jobs, and so now I'm bored. So, because I'm used to doing something all the time, so sitting there doesn't work for me. So that's why I started doing so many different things. I do everything in my business. It's a saying that you shouldn't do that, but I mean, if you're used to doing it and it's not burning you out, I don't see anything wrong with it. So I'm up to pretty much 2 o'clock, especially if I'm working on something. I start to think around 9-ish at night, you know. I don't sleep well because all of these ideas are going in my head, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. So I'm at it all night.
Wow. And then you're still getting up super early in the morning.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I get up early and put on my uniform and go to work, and as soon as I'm off, I start transitioning to boss lady Blingy in the car.
All right, so let's talk about the inspiration behind your designs. What is the thought process when you are designing?
So I meet so many different women from different walks of life. I don't only design for women, also men too. So I actually get to know a person and talk to them and find out what their favorite color, you know, things that they like. And then by looking at the person, I don't know, I think it's a gift. I start to create things that I think that they would like. Or, you know, once you get to know a person, you're like, oh, you like blue, you know, you know, or that looks really good. And then I would design something in that color. Or I see a piece of material as I'm walking through the fabric store, and then I would create a necklace or something out of that. But my biggest inspiration came from the notorious RBG.
What? Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, what about Biggie did you?
It wasn't her. It's not him. It's the notorious BRG.
The BRG.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, got it confused.
Yeah. So it's the late notorious BRG. RBG. So,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes. So she was. Yeah. So all the things that she did for women.
Yes.
And the way she would look so good in her robe, and she would wear her jabots. And my fabric, I'm like, oh my God, I'm I'm going to make everything from bling with fabric to make my stuff stand out in robes and wear them like what I have on today. So that pushed me to go into the jabots. So,
who would have thought that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was inspiration behind some of her jewelry designs, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we know that she inspired so many of us women to get out there and stand within our power, within our expertise, within ourselves, really just like letting our inner shine forth. And so when you talk to people about that, are they surprised?
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about necklace and bling, you wouldn't think about a judge. But she wore it in such class, and it was different. And again, I love to be different because when you're different, you stand out. I don't want to look like anyone else. Even with the material that I have, I buy enough to probably make 2, and I make it different. So you and maybe someone else may have that, but it's totally different.
A little slightly different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you said that, just in speaking with some people, inspiration comes to mind. Can you give us an example of something recent that you created that was just based on conversations with someone?
I like to do like things just out of the blue. Speaking of blue, the last piece that I made was for Robbie.
Yes.
And so I know she loved blue. And the last time I talked to her was at an event, and I had on a piece that I made for myself, and it was blue, and she loved it. And so when I got home, I've been working on this piece for a while, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this one for Robbie the next time I see her. And then that's what happened. And she starts like, oh, because she asked about it so long ago.
Yeah.
And so I found more pieces and I just made it again.
Wow. That's exciting. And just as a reference point, Lady Dr. Robbie Motter is the founder of Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs. If you're a woman, entrepreneur, or want to be an entrepreneur, you should join us. So we are going to take a break here at KCAA Radio. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with Latasha because I got a lot more questions to ask her.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.